What is the scariest/creepiest theory you know about? If the human body senses trauma it is unable to combat, it will switch off metabolism, pump endorphins, and slip into a pain-free dissociative state. In essence, shutting down. It's been seen in air crashes and lots of places really. Basically your body can switch itself off. Don't some prey animals do this when they are caught? That's why they seem so unfazed about being eaten. I'm sure I've read something about rabbits not being likely to survive an encounter with a predator even if they escape cause their body is just pumped with so much crap they have a heart attack anyway. It was on Reddit somewhere I saw it, so who knows how legit it is. As someone that has pet rabbits, not stressing them out if they're not feeling well is a legitimate concern for exactly this reason. It's such a delicate line between deciding if the stress of an urgent care visit is worth it or more detrimental. My dog killed my bunny without even touching it. Got in his room one day and the cage was still closed but it was laying there. I imagine it barked at it and just set its little heart off. Edit. My most liked comment is on my sex working profile lol. Nice. I suffer from PTSD from working in conflict zones. When you're continuously working in these regions, your body pushes past the pain and difficulties you encounter. It modifies your life to always expect danger and as such it normalizes what you see to cope. But what really hurts is when you come home. The switch your brain makes from survival cannot be processed buying groceries or taking a gentle walk. It thinks that the changes it made in areas of fighting were permanent and that's why it's so difficult to go back to normal. So basically, when I was abroad, I felt no pain and the scary part is, I felt invincible. Being back home, I'm in a world of mental anguish and feel like a paper house. During the Challenger accident from 1986, whenever the shuttle exploded, the ground crews had the astronauts' EKGs and vital scans. After the explosion, the astronauts were still alive. Theory has it that they were cognizant the entire time until they crashed in the ocean. This is what actually happened. NASA never wanted to admit that the astronauts didn't die in the explosion. But there is a major probability that they were not conscious when they crashed into the ocean. Didn't they also say that by the time they recovered them, the bodies were basically liquefied in the suits from all the exterior factors in the ocean? The initial impact, with the forces involved, may have been sufficient in itself. It's like being hit by a speeding train. Bam, done. And every cell in your body shatters. Several emergency survival kits were activated by astronauts that were still conscious. Man, imagine being in their place. Crashing down and knowing you won't live to see tomorrow. Damn. If you die by being beheaded, the last thing you might see is your decapitated body. Time for me to go to bed. If you die by going to bed, the last thing you could see is the inside of your eyelids. In the past, when executions by beheading were still a thing, they would usually tie a piece of cloth around the condemned's eyes so that they couldn't see anything. They were also placed in a way that the neck faced upwards with a basket for the head to fall and face forward. So basically the last thing you'd see, if you'd see it all, would be the bottom of the basket. F. I sincerely hate every thought of medieval times. There are so many facets of history that make me so painfully thankful that I never lived back then, but things like public beheadings and being drawn and quartered terrify the F out of me. And to think people would actually gather and watch that barbaric crap like a town spectacle. Don't worry about medieval times. Sorry to tell you, but the last guillotine execution in France was September 1977. Yep, 1977. Fouillou, he deserved it. The last public one was 1931. And in Saudi Arabia, public beheadings are carried out still. By sword. The Dark Forest Theory. This explains the Fermi paradox, why we haven't seen any other advanced life forms despite the vastness of the universe. Other advanced life forms don't send out signals into the rest of the universe because they're worried that something more advanced and dangerous is going to find them first. There's another idea that other civilizations know there's something out there but don't send any signals because it has no reason to not wipe out the entire planet. There's a science fiction book based on this, and I think this quote explains it better than I can. The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful, because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds another life, another hunter, angel, or a demon, a delicate infant to tottering old man, a fairy or demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. Our dumbasses sent out a golden recording of Johnny B. Good blasting through space. I love that book series. Lud Sashin's Three-Body Problem, The Dark Forest, and Death's End. Cosmology can be disturbing. For instance, I recently learned of dead-end trips. There are some destinations that you shouldn't try for. It's possible to travel so far away from where you started, that the expansion of the universe will exceed the speed you were traveling at. You can't return home, because home is receding faster than you can travel. You can't reach your destination, because it too is receding faster than you can travel. You can no longer get anywhere, only get further away from everything. You cannot reach any destination, even if you travel forever. Yes. This is because the universe is constantly expanding, and galaxies, neighborhoods, clusters, etc. are gravity-bound. They stick together in distant clumps while other clumps move away. It's kind of like people in cars on a highway. You will remain a constant difference from however many people are in your car, or on your motorcycle, or in your school bus. But you will get further and further away from other vehicles. This means that if you are within a pocket that's bound by gravity, you'll always be an equal distance from everything else. But if you fall out of that car, you're not getting back in it, and you're almost certainly never getting into any other car either. This reminds me of those dreams when you're trying to run but you can only move slowly. Effing have these constantly, drives me insane. A lot of comments bringing up the Fermi paradox to explain the lack of evidence of extraterrestrial life, when by all accounts we should be seeing alien life all over the universe. Here's another, unsettling, explanation. If you're scuba diving above a coral reef, and you know that there should be fish all around you, but you don't see any, it's most likely that they have learned that for some reason it's important not to be seen. And since you're a newcomer to this environment, chances are it's not you they're hiding from. Edit. The number of scuba divers saying they've experienced this and then noticed a shark nearby is alarming. F that and my ability to sleep tonight. Reminds me of a short story where humans are broadcasting a signal out into the universe to try and contact any advanced alien species they can to prove that there's other life in the universe. Years later they receive a signal back from an unknown part of space that says something along the lines of, "Be quiet, or they'll find you." Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Lots of people are suggesting that I read The Three-Body Problem. I love me a good sci-fi book and haven't listened to an audiobook in about a year, so I know what I'm getting next. I'd love to give that a read if you can remember the name. Web link. Thanks. Chilling. Wish it was longer. That's what she said. The theory that scented candles starting getting poor reviews at the same time COVID hit the US. Makes you wonder how many people have mild COVID before we even knew about it, pairing the lack of taste and or smell as one of the main symptoms associated with mild COVID cases. Are you saying that Gwyneth Paltrow caused COVID? Imagine she and her underlings are working on her vagina-scented candles, but they have COVID and don't realize it, causing their sense of smell to weaken. Stronger. Gwyneth insists. More potent. I can barely smell the vagina. And then it goes to market and to normal people who can still smell. It's the most potent odor imaginable, the aroma of 100,000 vaginas blasted into their nostrils. Keep going. That you might be aware of everything happening to you during surgery, the anesthesia keeps you from moving and causes you to forget. Yeah, before my wisdom teeth removal, the nurse told me that patients can still partially respond to the commands of the doctor while under anesthesia. They just don't remember this afterward. When I went under, I didn't even remember falling asleep. I had surgery once and woke up mid-surgery. I felt no pain, but it was still awful. It was like running in a dream. I felt like every movement was through molasses, and the weight of my own skin on my chest made it hard to breathe enough to talk. I remember screaming help at the top of my lungs and flailed my arms around in panic, and then someone coming to put the mask back on me. Later, a nurse told me I whispered something and moved my arm a little. Freaked me out massively. Edit, beware, continuing this comment thread only leads to more creepy surgery stories. You've been warned. Remind me of sleep paralysis. Such a terrifying experience, screaming and flailing and not being able to move or making a sound. My husband has narcolepsy and gets sleep paralysis all the time. He'll start moaning and saying no or help, so I'll shake him awake, gently. Or else he's stuck until he naturally wakes up, and God knows when that'll be if I don't wake him up. He always wakes up jolting upright, and sometimes will continue to look around and panic as if there's something spooky nearby, but then he calms down and tells me about his nightmare / whatever the heck it was. Often it's demon related, which is fun to hear about at 2 a.m. Hands down, one of the most terrifying experiences I've ever had was having sleep paralysis all alone. No one to save you from the demons, you just have to scream until your body decides it's time to actually wake up. This one hits close to home. I had an eye surgery a few years ago that I needed to stay conscious for in order to move the eye around for the surgeon. I felt completely paralyzed by the anesthesia and unable to speak, but I still felt a lot of what was being done. After a while, the surgeon, I guess, got concerned about my heart rate or breathing or something and asked if I was okay and upped the anesthesia, but damn, it seemed like ages. I remember the panic of being in pain, but I don't remember the pain itself, if that makes sense. I have massive anxiety about surgeries and anesthesia now. Also kind of related, I've heard that following childbirth, a woman's brain gets flushed with a bunch of love chemicals that both further attach her to the baby, and also basically dull her memory of just how painful the birth was. Otherwise, many women would suffer massively from PTSD and would not be inclined to go through it again. I was ready to have another baby less than 4 hours after giving birth to one. Those chemicals are effing insane. I spent 5 months on anesthesia service. I can tell you your body does respond to pain, heart rate, blood pressure increases. You should not remember any of it. Anesthesia is not a perfect science in terms of dosing. People who are heavy drinkers can require 2-3x the normal dose. This leads them to being light where they sometimes can move unless we paralyze them. 95% of the time that happens, the drugs cause total amnesia, but occasionally people can recall parts of the surgery. EEG monitoring and fMRI show that the auditory part of the brain still responds to noises and sound. There was a study I read years ago that showed if under anesthesia you were read a list of priming words like water, river, shore, and then later asked them to define an ambiguous word like bank, they more likely than chance to define a bank as to land by a river. The one that bugs me was the one about the guy who was last seen in an airport. There's video of him just wigging the F out and running away at full speed. They linked the surveillance footage and you can see him run all the way off the premises. He was never seen again. There's lots of theories about what happened. None I want to look too far into. Bulgaria, wasn't it? Completely freaked out and ran through the front door into the woodlands. Can you be more specific? I want to look into this more. Here you go, sweet dreams, buddy. YouTube link. Web link. I've always just assumed this is a result of undiagnosed schizophrenia. A non-blood family member of mine had schizophrenia, and the suddenness of the change in him was startling to say the least. Then one day he went to the beach by himself, and for reasons unknown to anyone, got into a kayak and paddled straight out into the ocean, and never returned. They found his kayak some 50 miles away from where he departed. Schizophrenia would make sense. The story is he got into a fight and then got even more scared, but his friends weren't scared enough to not get home. Maybe he was just imagining crap. He got hit hard enough to rupture an eardrum. It's quite possible he also suffered a traumatic brain injury and this was the result of that. Spontaneous combustion. I watched a strange but true episode about this as a child and was convinced I'd randomly burst into flames one day. I'm over it now, but that was my top fear for a long time. I've looked into it. Nearly every case happened while the person was drinking and smoking at the same time, which kind of explains it. Only the cool kids suffer from spontaneous human combustion. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.